Mike, kick it off.
No, back to you, Jana.
I love it. I love it. All right. It looks like we are live everywhere that we need to be live. So, welcome back to another Wine Wednesday. I am your host, as usual, Jana Kryline, certified wine geek and co-founder of dVIN Labs and Club dVIN. Today, I am joined by my fellow co-founder, Rodolfo Narati, our wine guru, master of wine drops, sources us all the impossible to find wines that we deliver to our members once a week. We've been on fire. We've been doing wine drops weekly lately. If you guys have been away for the summer and missed them, you missed out, but we got lots to come. I'm also joined today by two very, very special guests, and I assume familiar faces to a lot of you. We've got Mike Juergens and Anne Cross with us. These are the founders of the Bhutan Wine Company. Together, they are pioneering what will, very likely become the world's most exciting. It already is the world's most exciting new wine frontier, in my opinion. At the top of the world, in the heart of the Himalayas, people. Bhutan, if you didn't know where it is, it's the top of the world in the Himalayas. So yeah, you guys, you planted the first vineyards in 2019? Is that
Yep.
Have I got that right? Okay. We're going to dive into the whole story. But first vineyards planted in 2019. You guys have expanded to sites across the country. I think what's the highest elevation?
It's like 9,000 feet, which is some number of meters for those of you in Europe.
Yeah, I know. I use feet. And you've got how many grape varieties growing in Bhutan right now? I know you were just planting, so I don't know. I'm not up to date.
We have 16 still, so 9 reds and 7 whites.
Okay. Wow. All right. And these guys have already made like headlines. They may have just auctioned off the coolest and most rare bottle of wine on the planet in a format that has never existed before, called the Himalaya, sold at Sotheby's. They've released their first commercial Chenin Blanc, which has already created demand worldwide. And I could go on, but I'll let Mike and Anne tell the story. This is truly wine history in the making, and they are writing the first chapter. But before we dive in, I will shut up eventually, but I've got to do a little plug because our Wine Wednesday is evolving, people. We have taken this weekly live stream and given it a new format. So this week is kind of a test run of this format. We are going to kick off as usual at 5:30 Central European time. As usual, we're bringing on some of the most interesting and important voices in the wine industry. We've got winemakers, estate directors, and pioneers like Mike and Anne. And then at 6 o'clock sharp-ish, you guys know me, the public stream is going to end. And Club dVIN members only are going to stick around and join us in the private studio for a live Q&A with our guests. So these private sessions are where you're going to get the real access. So this is the kind of conversations that never really make it onto the public stage. And in the weeks ahead, we've got some pretty exciting names lined up. So on September 18th, we're going to be joined by Florent Gentil from Chateau Pichon-Lalande. And on September 25th, we've got Arnaud de Lafourcade from Chateau Cheval Blanc joining us. The point of these guests coming on is not just that they have a lot to tell and, are representing iconic states, and chateaus, estates, but they're actually going to be talking about a specific wine that will be released the next day. So the day following the Wine Wednesday that you're going to see those guests featured and get in on a Q&A with them if you are a member. The next day, you're going to have access to an old library release or some kind of special release from that chateau. So yeah, that's the new format. I am looking forward to kicking those off today. As I said, this is our kind of test run. We're going to be talking about, just to see if when we cut that public stream, if we can make sure that everything runs smoothly. Mike and Anne are going to be talking about a trip that we've got coming up. As you guys know, all of our members and anyone tuning in who knows Club dVIN, you will know that this is going to be our third trip to Bhutan. And Mike and Anne are going to stick around and kind of get into the juicy details of what that trip is going to look like this year. So yeah, let's dive in. Mike, take us back. How did you end up in Bhutan? And this is, Anne, where I'm going with this. This
do.
is the
I
Aunt read a book story.
I made the unfortunate mistake of dating a Scottish woman, and turns
listening
out
to me.
turns out she was pretty big on the idea of going to Bhutan. So I heard about it for a long time, probably about a decade, and I've been running we had been running marathons around the world in kind of weird places, and I got an email that said Bhutan Marathon, and I opened up like, oh, that's the place Anne's into. And I opened it up and it was like, we're taking, 10 people. If you want to be considered, apply. So I applied. We got accepted. And I went and said, Anne, we're going to Bhutan. And Anne goes, I can't wait. We're going to the Himalayas. And I said, what are you talking about? Bhutan's in an island in Indonesia. And she goes, no, it is not. And I go, yeah, it is. And she goes, no, look it up. And I was like, oh, shit. I just signed us up to run a fucking marathon in the Himalayas. And so then I proceeded to do zero research on Bhutan or the Himalayas. Just got my shoes and got on a plane and flew there with Anne. We got there, and the place, the Westerners, we think of the Himalayas as this glaciers and yetis kind of place, and it is in the north. But as you sort of get lower in altitude, it's this super fertile place for growing food. The water's pure, the soil's pure and unsullied. You have like no smog. You have really high UV concentration, and so the Bhutanese grow some of the best crops in the world, and they're pioneers in organic farming. Other countries go there to learn how to farm organically. So we're running around and we're eating all these great fruits and grains and vegetables, and we're seeing all these terrace slopes. And I just assumed there were wineries there. So I was asking everybody, as a wine guy, I'm like, where's the wineries? I was told, eventually we ended up at a dinner with some government people. And once again, where's the wineries? They said, we don't have any. And I said, well, you guys are stupid. This place is probably the world's next best wine region, or, emerging wine region. And they said, well, why do you think that? And that led to a series of conversations. I just thought they should do it. I was passionate that they should do it. So I wrote a white paper and I wrote a business plan and I drafted the wine laws, drafted wine laws and regulations for the country. Just sent it all to them, like, go do this. And they said, we want to do it. And I said, awesome, go do it. Let me know when it's done. I can't wait to try the wine. And they're like, no, we want you to be in charge. And I was like, really? Hell yeah. I'm completely all in on that. Are you kidding me? Like, this, the last time a country that didn't have wine built a wine industry was New Zealand in the 1800s. So if this hasn't been done in 200 years and I get to be the guy to do it, fuck yes, let's go. And so that's how it started. And we planted the first vineyards in 2019 and we sold our first wine in April 23rd of this year through Bonhams, actually, not Sotheby's.
Oh my God. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Whoops.
Wow. Yeah. Woo. Amias, we're going to cut that, edit. Oh, Amias can kill me.
Yeah. Yep.
You should have like, there needs to be a buzzer sound that you can just like cover my voice with. Cause
I wanted to do it in the most embarrassing way possible.
Well, I mean, look, it's pretty hard to embarrass me, to be honest. Last week's live stream, I played the bagpipes on my throat. So, well, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, it's a talent. I know. It's pretty cool.
All right.
And as CEO, you've been guiding the vision. I know Mike says, like, I get to be the guy to do it. But Mike, calm down. You're not doing it alone. All right. And what did you see in Bhutan that convinced you?
It's mostly me. It's mostly me.
This reminds me of the trailer where Mike's like, I just get to be the guy to do it. And Anne then in like another clip is like, yeah, you just take credit for everything that I do.
Yeah. I'm like, I do it. I do all the stuff. You just take credit for it.
That's what leaders do.
So Anne, CEO,
yes.
What convinced you when you got to Bhutan? I mean, you knew it wasn't in Indonesia.
So I had a much longer perception of how special Bhutan was than Mike did. I had wanted to go there for decades. And so, I think when we got there, as Mike said, everything about it felt very almost surreal. Like, he talked about the food that we were eating and the crops that we were seeing, and that there was no question. But I think the other piece of it is Bhutan is such a special place. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's peaceful. It has really maintained its sense of cultural identity. And the people are just, as you know, Jana, you've been there, so warm, so inviting. And so kind of collectively, it was truly just like the opportunity of a lifetime to be able to, work in tandem with the country to basically kind of work on this project to bottle Bhutan's essence in a bottle of wine, and be able to capture really like that spirit. So the wine itself obviously is one piece of it, but as we all know, wine tells the story of where it's grown, the people, the place. And so that has just been, every time we go and every time we do something, I think that continues to unfold in just such a really special way, for everyone that's had a chance to see the project, to be a part of it, to taste the wine. And it's so cool because that's been our goal all along, is to be able to share Bhutan with the wine, with the world, but do it through a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is we talk about how special Bhutan is, and it is. It's an amazing place, and I love it. But pulling the lens back a little bit and looking at the world of wine. So I have a theory that humans are wired to accept wine in a way that we are not for spirits and for beer. And I think that that's because for 15,000 years, wine was our medicine. It was our religious rituals. It was the way we, purified our water. It was the way that we came together in the caves. And so that built these neural pathways through, thousands of generations of evolution that are sort of primed for wine. And everybody who's a wine person knows that first time when that switch flipped on for them. And they'll tell you about it in detail. I'll tell you mine in detail if you want. Yeah. But I've never heard someone tell me a story about the moment vodka, their vodka switch flipped on, other than alcohol.
I can tell you some tequila stories, Mike. Don't want to hear them.
Anyway, so if you assume that humans are wired for wine, there's no question that climate chaos is changing the traditional regions. As a matter of fact, I saw literally this morning, I think I read that one of the main, there's no rating system in Pomerol, but one of the big wineries in Pomerol is withdrawing from the AOC because they're like, the regs are not keeping up with climate change. That won't allow us to make the wine that we want to make. So if you accept this as fact, which it is, that means you have to move away from the equator. You have to go north, which that has complications, Finland, Sweden, where are you going to go? You could go south to places like Africa, which, South Africa is maybe okay, but there's a lot of space in the middle that I don't know is great for wine. Or you can go up. So we're going up. We chose to go up. And with that, we have a climate change for the rest of humanity, And so with all due humility, I have saved wine for the future of humanity. So you're welcome, world.
With all due humility.
It's very humble.
That is extraordinarily humble. I think that.
Wow.
No one's got anything to say after that. I just, mic drop. Boom.
Mic drop.
Mic
literally,
drop.
Literally.
Yeah. Again, as usual. I was waiting for that moment, but I didn't have to wait that long. I mean, there's always one of those moments when we do a live stream. Okay. All right. So we talked a little bit about it. You've got 9 vineyards. That's still right?
No, we just planted the 10th.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were planting in one of the vineyards that already exists or if there's a new one. Where is it?
It's in Paro.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's going to be, in total, it's going to be about 60 acres. And there's sort of a plot and then a ravine and then a plot ravine and then a poop. And the first, beautiful. It's by far, I think, our best looking vineyard to date, which is saying a lot, right? You've been to at least, you haven't been to the east, but you've been to some of our other vineyards and they're pretty damn spectacular. Yeah. So we're super stoked.
Your vineyard, so the vineyard that is in Paro or that was in Paro before you planted that one was amazing in terms of quality. Like it was, I mean, there was not a thing wrong with any of the vines that I saw there. It was gorgeous.
That's why we were trying to double down on Paro, but we were having a hard time finding land. So we've been looking for land there for about 5 years. And we finally found this plot. It's sort of the river runs down the valley, and if you come out of the airport, our one vineyard is to the right. This is actually to the left, so it's on the left side.
I was gonna say, is it closer to Tiger's Nest? Because I remember when we hiked Tiger's Nest, and for those of you watching who can't think of Bhutan or where it is or can't place it, Tiger's Nest is Bhutan, and I'm sure you would recognize those photos of that monastery that's like clinging to the edge of a cliff. That is Bhutan. That's the Tiger's Nest. And I can remember when we were hiking up there, I think you, or maybe it was Karma, who said that you were looking at potentially having a vineyard where you could see.
I would, if we could have pulled that off, that would have been fucking magnificent. But unfortunately, we could not. So you can't see it. We're actually up. So Tiger's Nest is the north-south valley, and we're on like an east-west valley. So it's kind of around the corner.
But there is a beautiful view of a different monastery right at the top of it. It's gorgeous. It overlooks, because it's pretty high up, and it overlooks a lot of the valley. And there is a monastery off in the distance. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
And we might be able to see the National Museum from the other side of it once we clear all the trees down. We might be able to see the museum.
Well, I was just going to say a beautiful monastery in Bhutan is like, they're all beautiful. Like they're all.
That's true.
Yeah. There's nothing in Bhutan that's not beautiful, to be honest. It's amazing. Okay. So for the sake of time, and we've never tried to do this in 30 minutes, and there's so much to tell, and there's always the paddle story, and there's so many things to tell. But let's get to like, how did you decide to plant what and where?
So given that it has not been done before, we didn't know what would work. And we started with sort of your traditional viticultural analysis. And we did a bunch of soil samples, and we looked at climate data, if we could get climate data, which there isn't necessarily great climate data there because there's not weather stations all over the place. And then we realized the nature of the microclimates are so severe. Like the vineyard I was just talking about in Paro, it kind of runs along the side of this mountain, but it sort of wraps around the edge. It rains on the left side of the vineyard, and it doesn't rain on the right side of the vineyard. Same fucking vineyard, two entirely different rain patterns. So,
oh my God.
So we didn't know, right? And so eventually I just said, fuck it, let's go and try stuff and plant a bunch of different things at a bunch of different altitudes and see what works. And then, so the question is, what do you plant? And, once again, we don't know, but I figured we'd be best suited planting international varietals because there's the most amount of scientific information about how to farm those varietals in various climates. So that's how we picked it. And then with that, over the year, we started with 9. And then over the years, we added an additional 7 based on, as we got smarter about Bhutan, we thought, oh, here's a few more that might work. So.
Okay. And which grapes have surprised you the most?
Chenin and Tempranillo. Our Tempranillo is so fucking good. But here, I'll tell you a story. This is a funny story. Our Sauvignon Blanc is amazing. But it all of the varietals that we're planting all show typicity, but in sort of a new voice, if you will. And so we were doing this tasting in Paris for a handful.
And I was so bummed that I couldn't be at.
You missed it. It was pretty goddamn amazing. Dave could tell you. But anyway, so we have these 2 Sauvignon Blancs. So one's an oak Sauvignon Blanc and one's an unoaked Sauvignon Blanc. And we're sitting there with people like Jane Anson and, Christian and people who are wine experts. And we're going around the table, and I didn't tell anybody what anything was. And so at the end, I was like, well, what'd you guys think? But half of the table was like, that unoaked Chardonnay, that's definitely the Chardonnay. It tastes exactly like Grand Cru Chablis. And the other half of the table was like, no, the oaked one is definitely the Chardonnay. It tastes exactly like Puligny Montrachet. And I go, both of those are Sauvignon Blanc. And it was just like, what the fuck did you just say? What? No way are these Sauvignon Blanc. I'm like, yep. And then they went back to it and they're like, yeah, you can get to the typicity of it, but it's a new expression of a traditional varietal, but not in a bad way. It's got
not in a bad way. If you're not with those comparisons, certainly not.
No. So that's been a bit of a surprise too, how good the Sauvignon Blanc is. The Riesling, we got a little bit of botrytis on, and dear God, if the weather gods are nice to me again, we'll get a little more botrytis this year. And that was, it's funny. Everyone, same thing with the Riesling. It has about 9 grams of residual sugar. Every single person at the table said it was dry. And I'm like, nope.
Right. What
9
altitude is
grams.
that planted at?
What's that?
What altitude is the Riesling planted at? How much, like, what's the acidity?
So that Riesling came out of the Pinsa vineyard, which is at about 5,000 feet.
Okay.
Actually, the Riesling has done poorer at higher altitudes, which kind of surprises me. The Paro vineyards, which are at about 7,200 feet, the Pinot and the Chardonnay are just crushing it. And I was expecting that the Riesling would be crushing it there, but it's not. But at 5,000 feet, Riesling's doing awesome. So who knows? We'll see.
Oh my God. Okay.
You've reached the upper limits.
Going in October, Jana?
Oh my God. I'm like really close to booking a ticket. So, all right. We have a couple minutes left before we are going to cut for the public and let our trip attendees dig into the Q&A with you guys. But let's talk about what happened at Bonham's with the auction. So tell us about the Himalayan format, what the Himalayan format is, and what the auction was like, and what you auctioned.
We wanted to do something special for the very first barrel of wine ever produced in a country. It's amazing, right? So we wanted to do something special. So we came up with this idea of doing some large formats. And I'm like, yeah, large formats are nice. So we did a couple 3 liters and a couple 5 liters. But I said, let's come up with something new. And I'll take credit for the idea. Technically, it was Emmaus's. And so we made this bottle format called the Himalayan, which is 7.57 liters. And it is done in homage to Gankar Puncham, which is the highest unclimbed mountain in the world. And it's 7,570 meters high. And it's located in Bhutan, and it will never be climbed because it is sacred. And so we just thought that was a really cool thing. I think we're going to do more Himalayas in the future because of how cool it was. And so we made 2 of them. We presented His Majesty, the King of Bhutan, with one of them. And then we released one to the global wine markets. And of course, as you can imagine, there was a lot of bidding around it. And it ended up selling for almost $19,000, which was amazing. And I was, because we didn't know, right? And so I asked Emmaus, like, is this good or is this bad? Like, I have no context for this. And he goes, well, Mike, at our last auction, we sold a 6-liter bottle of 1986 Petrus for less than that. So if we're selling for more than Petrus, I'll fucking take that.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good benchmark.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to use the beep feature on all of Mike's expletives, or?
You know what? I love it. I love it. And I hope that my mom is watching. Mom, Mike's rubbing off on me because my mom tells me I swear too much. And we talk about this on every Wine Wednesday. But yeah, it makes me look good, I think.
Yeah. That's my goal, Mike, Jana, just help you look good.
Thanks, Mike. Look, I am humbled. So much humility on this live stream.
Well, Mike, it sounds like the and what you were able to get for the Himalaya should offset the very negligible logistical costs of that bottle.
Well, I'll tell you a story about that, and I hope that the TTB is not listening. But the 7.57 format is not an allowable format in the US. And so you could import it, but you have to get a bottle variant, and getting a bottle variant is not inconsequential. And I didn't know that it was going to stay in the US. It wasn't for retail on a retail store shelf or anything. So we bungee corded full rolls of toilet paper around the bottle, and then stuffed it and wrapped the whole thing in bubble wrap, and then stuffed it in a suitcase and packed a bunch of towels around it. And Matt hand carried it to New Jersey. And then I picked it up in New Jersey and I drove it to Boston and I dropped it off at the
and that is,
and so technically Matt was the smuggler, not me.
White glove service.
Yeah, it was sketchy. And when we get the thing to the US and I'm opening it, and all of us are just like, dear God, because that wine's gone. Like, we made 1 barrel, and that wine, that'll be the only time that wine exists in history. So if that bottle broke, oh my God, it was nerve-wracking, absolutely nerve-wracking. But we made it.
We made it. Oh my God. Okay. We were a little bit late, so we're gonna stick around for a couple more minutes on the live stream. But for like, what do you think the role of Bhutan and wine in Bhutan will play in the fine wine conversation over the next decade? Now, especially knowing what the Himalayan sold for.
Well, I mean, I think there's no question that the Himalayas, and actually, technically, they would say Himalayas. And I'm trying to, when I'm there, I say Himalayas, and then when I'm here, I say Himalayas. But there's no question that that is emerging as one of the sites to be because of climate change. And so we're the only winery in Bhutan, but on the Chinese side of the Himalayas, there's 2 Himalayan projects. One's owned by LVMH. That's called Aoyan. And then there's a Chinese company called Does And those wines are already selling. So Aoyan sells for about $400 a bottle. Does produces two wines. One's $600 a bottle and one's $1,200 a bottle. So I think there already is a deep recognition amongst the global wine community that the Himalayas are going to play a major role in things to come. Within that, though, my expectation is that Bhutan is probably going to, at some point, once we get to scale, will probably emerge as more of a go-to because of the geopolitics around China. Whereas, Bhutan is this sort of revered, peaceful nation, gross national happiness and all that. So there's a better cultural story, I think, around Bhutan. We'll see, right? But that's, if I'm putting on my consulting hat and projecting out into the future, that's what I think will probably happen.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. It's one of those things, if I could glimpse into the future, I'm telling you, this is honestly, I think Rodolfo, I hope that you would say the same. I always think like dVIN Labs and Club dVIN is such an exciting project, but the Bhutan Wine Company, like it's definitely the coolest wine trip that I ever went on and the coolest harvest experience by far. Nothing will ever top, nothing can top that. I mean, I got to participate in the first harvest in Bhutan. You can't.
I mean, technically, some of the grapes that you picked are in that Himalayan bottle.
Yes.
Think about that.
Hey, I'm telling you, I make a good wine. I'm just saying.
So one of my buddies came to Bhutan right when we were bottling the Himalayan. And so he helped kind of put some of the white, because we added a little bit of white wine to it because we wanted all the grapes from all the vineyards, but we didn't want to unbalance wine. So we just added a little bit of white, and he got to add a little bit. And then he helped us press down some Syrah. So I would go, hey, Aaron, you realize technically you're the assistant winemaker for the first 2 vintages of Bhutan. And he's like, that's awesome. And then he put it on his LinkedIn profile, which I think is hysterically funny.
I need to be updating my LinkedIn as soon as this ends. I'm batting. Yeah. What did you say the last time? I'm like 2 for 2. I'm telling you, I gotta come this year. Okay. On that note, for the lucky Club dVIN members who are traveling with us in September, you guys stick around. We are gonna cut the live stream in just a second. For those of you watching on the public stream, I'm gonna thank Mike and Ann. Mike and Ann, don't go anywhere. I'm thanking you for the public, to the public. Rodolfo, you don't go anywhere either. Thank you for joining. I know I never let you get a word in edgewise, but we got tons of questions for you in the Q&A. All right. And for those of you watching who are intrigued about the upcoming Wine Wednesdays and the wine drops that we're going to be doing with iconic winemakers and, the most interesting people in the wine industry today, then make sure you become a member of Club dVIN. Applications are open. There's limited memberships available. You can go over to clubdvin.com and fill out an application. I review them myself. So leave us a little note. Let us know what you thought about today's live stream. And if you're interested in Bhutan, we're going to be hopefully doing a lot more pretty cool trips with Mike and Ann. And there's some interesting wines to come out of Bhutan for sure. So
thank you. Of course, always follow us on Instagram at Bhutan Wine, or check out what's going on our website, which is bhutanwine.com. Lots of cool pictures and information there.
Exactly. Yes. And we will put all of that into the show notes for those of you watching this on Substack. and watching on YouTube and X later on. Keep an eye on the comments. We'll be updating there. Thank you so much, Mike and Anne and Rodolfo. And don't go anywhere. I am going to stop the live stream. Thanks, guys. See you next Wednesday.
Later.